So welcome back my viewers and subscribers to another episode of the Resilience Hub. Today we will be diving into the topic of why you should not complain. Yes, this might spark some interest for people and they might say, why is it that you should not complain? Or isn't their complaining valid? Yes, all of that may be true, but before you assume, I want you to just listen what I have to say, and then at the end of the video you'll probably come up with another perspective. So I want to speak on 5 specific traits of an individual who complains excessively. So the first trait we're going to talk on is lack of action. An excessive complainer is one who tends to focus on expressing their frustration about a problem or situation rather than actually trying to find steps or trying to find ways to resolve the current issue. It's as if they're sidestepping the responsibility of actually dealing with the current situation that they're involved in. We have to be mindful that in anything in life, if you want things to change, you must take action. There's a saying that says, nothing changes if nothing changes. The second trait of the excessive complainer is that they have a negative mindset. So when you find someone who complains a lot, right? If you really examine how they complain and what they're complaining about, you realize that there is nothing constructive in what they're saying, right? It's always about the negative, what is not working at the moment, or why it is not working. They can never look on a situation or a problem and try to find something constructive from it and to take that constructive thing and to work on it. It's always about the negative. So if 50% out of the 100 is negative and the other 50 is positive, all they're going to focus on is the negative part of it. And that type of mindset is something that they develop over a period of time and it becomes a habit. So you realize that it doesn't matter what the situation is like, the first thing that they try to do is to whoop, be negative about the situation, right? And you realize because they are so negative, they cannot have the thought process to develop proper solutions because it is always about the negative. So, my people, you have to examine yourself and see if this trait is something that you have or something that you're developing. And if it is that you have it or start to develop it, you want to ensure that you discontinue this type of trait because it is not going to benefit you, especially as I said before, if you're aiming to be a progressive individual, right? Someone who wants to be a better version of themselves. This is something that is only going to suck positivity out of you, and all your hard work will be gone for naught. And that is not what we're aspiring to do as resilient individuals. Though the third trait that we're going to look on is avoidance of responsibility. If you have someone who excessively complains, it shows that there is a deeper underlying issue, and it tells you that the individual loves to avoid their responsibility. And when you have someone like this, it makes you question whether they are mature or if they're capable enough to do whatever task is given to them. Right? So say for example, you have a man where you build a house and you tell him say, yo, this is what you need to do for the foundation, that. You give him a certain amount of time to complete the task. When the time has come to an end, you approach the man, you realize the place not reach where it's supposed to be. And you go to him and you question him about it. And the man start to give all kinds of different excuses about why this not do, why that not do. And him start complaining. When you start to examine it, you realize and you say to yourself, I wonder if this man know exactly what he might do. That is the position the complainer puts other people in, to look at them as if they're capable enough to do the task that they're in. So the next time you start to complain a lot, right, rather than actually coming up with steps to solve the issue. Just think how people are going to view you when you start to complain excessively. I understand you don't want to be the person that is seen as incapable or you're avoiding your responsibility. You get me? Alright, so the fourth trait on the list is emotionally taxing. So the person who complains excessively, you see, because they give the impression that they're negative and that they're helpless, they tend to be emotionally draining to people who are around them because they're always negative, right? And they can never see the positive in any form or situation. So if you have someone like that coming to you on a daily basis and I tell you and I complain, say, boy, the bank never give me the money, and the people them supposed to go to school. Me never get enough pay. Water bill no this, light bill no pay. So all of those things, it gonna be draining to people if them hear it every single day. And because you are becoming emotionally taxing, people are going to want to avoid you. People now going to want to listen to you because you come every day with the same thing and you can never try to be constructive about your situation. And nobody wants to build a presence or an environment of someone that keeps on come to them and I tell them the same story every single day and them not try to alleviate themselves from it. So you don't want to be that kind of person. You understand? Especially if you aspire again to be a resilient or progressive man or woman. Alright, so the fifth and final trait on the list is lack of resilience. When you're an individual who faces your challenges with positivity and you face them with resilience, what you tend to realize is that people become more respectful of you because they realize that you're not someone who gets up and complains every single day about the difficulties, about the setbacks that you have. You don't allow those things to stop you from moving forward. And because of that, people admire you, people respect you, people want to get to know you. And because of that, opportunities can spring from that because people get attracted to you. Because especially in today's society, not many people can actually maneuver themselves through the difficulties, right? So because you complain a lot, show you lack resistance, it show as well that you have poor coping skills and you don't know how to adapt. And these issues are issues that can transition into your work life, your personal life, you get me? And when it does permeate those things, it comes with a lot of problems, you get me? So those are the 5 traits that I think when you're an excessive complainer, you tend to have. Alright everyone, so as usual, I'm always going to leave tips that you can use to reprogram yourself, create a new habit, and to avoid these types of traits, right? So, the first tip that I'm going to give you in not becoming a complainer is become more self-aware. I know I've said this before in previous videos, but believe me, people, this tip is so powerful. The more you become aware of yourself, people, you can do great things. By understanding you can know what to do, what not to do, so you can be a better person. You need to be aware of the feelings and patterns that comes on whenever you start to complain. Understand why you are complaining and the feeling you get when you start complaining. And by understanding that, you can now come up with different ways, right, to tackle these underlying traits so as to not be an excessive complainer. So make sure you have a book, journaling again. Yeah, make sure you have a book and you write down these things. You understand? Make a note of the patterns. You get me? And that's one of the ways you can tackle the trait of an excessive complainer. Alright, so the other tip of combating the excessive complainer trait is you need to reframe your chain of thought. What I mean by that is, whenever you start to find yourself complain heavily or excessively, you need to stop yourself, right? And say, instead of complaining, what is it that I can learn from this situation, right? What is it that I can change so that I can have the outcome that I want instead of just sitting down complaining and playing the victim. So you need to change the way you think. So instead of jumping to be negative, just stop for a second, man, and think and say, oh, what do I need to do? What am I not do? You get me? I guarantee you, say, you are gonna have some ideas and you are gonna see things from a different perspective. And by doing that, it will put you in a better position now as to how to tackle the issue that you're facing with. So just try it and see. So the other tip is one which I think everybody can relate to, right? And that is be mindful of the people you surround yourself with. There's a saying that says birds of a feather flock together. Naturally, if you're a complainer, you tend to attract people who are complainers as well. And if you wish to change that trait, if you wish to be someone who want to overcome these negative traits, you have to find people who are being resilient and finding solution to their issues rather than complaining to everyone about it. Surround yourself with those type of people. Watch what they're doing, right? Ask them questions and they can teach you and show you things that you probably didn't know, or maybe you did know it, but you just never did have the actionable steps to take to combat the negative trait. So your environment speaks a lot to who you are, right? Another one is show me a company and we tell you who you are. That is so true. So surround yourself with people who are actually doing the thing that you want to do. And with that being said, people, we have come to the end of another episode of the Resilience Hub. I hope that the information that I presented to you today can be very useful. And I just ask that people take a moment to examine themselves and see how they can apply these different steps. See how they can examine themselves if any of these traits are within themselves, and just take the necessary steps that I've given so you can, undo or unlearn those negative traits and start to develop some positive qualities, which in return will cause you to be a resilient and progressive man and woman. Once again, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. And if the channel, as usual, resonated with you, I am asking you please to leave a comment, like, and share. Send the message to someone, because you never might know. People are out there who need this type of information, and you just might be the one to share it with them. So once again,
This is the Resilience Hub.